I was born on the 15th of April 1871 in Napříkopě Street 990 in Prague 1. My father was a sugar merchant and financier Alois Oliva. He gave me a beautiful name, Burza. Far away across the ocean, in a city my father often told me about called New York, in the same year I was born, in 1871, a huge railway station Grand Central Terminal was opened. It has been there ever since, and every year we celebrate our birthdays together. In 1886, when I was 15 years old, an American pharmacist from Atlanta, John Pemberton, introduced a fizzy medicine which he called Coca-Cola. It is interesting that the logo, which is still used now, was not designed by the team of graphic designers and based on customer pulse data, which would be the procedure these days. Instead, his accountant, Frank Robinson, designed it. At the end of the 1880s, there was a massive industrial and business boom. Many companies still operating nowadays were established. Companies like IBM, Nintendo, Kodak or Metaxa originated in this era. In 1894, the same year the bridge across the River Thames in London was finished and named after the towers that are its parts, Tower Bridge, Tomáš Baťa founded his shoe company in Zlín. Before the successful assassination of Franz Ferdinand d'Este took place on the 28th of June 1914 and the First World War started, certain R.J. Reynolds managed to market the first pack of cigarettes. It was a pack with a camel on the label. The war lasted 4 years. 10 million people died, and the memories are not nice. The end of the war in 1918 brought one big change. All of a sudden, I was a citizen of a newly formed state, Czechoslovakia. The war was over, the jazz age was just beginning, and unfortunately our new state was facing some problems. For example, on the 5th of January 1923, Alois Rašín, the then Minister of Finance and one of the key economic conceivers, was murdered. He is the author of the following quote: "It is difficult. Where there is a danger of poverty, there is a danger of socialism. And where there is a danger of socialism, there is a danger of poverty." However, during the First Republic, many positive things happened as well. I remember well the Škoda's factory in Pilsen being very successful on the stock market. The Lauren and Clement company was a part of it back then, today the Škoda Auto. The investors were very interested in it, and it was also popular abroad. Apart from the stock market in Prague, it was traded at stock markets in Paris or London. On the turn of the 20s and the 30s, there came some really dark clouds. First, there was the Great Crisis in the USA, October the 29th in 1929, and the New York stock market crash, the so-called Black Tuesday, has become a term nobody can ever delete from the history. As a consequence of the crash, economies all over the world collapsed. It is rather interesting that during this time, a particular cinematic genre became very popular: horror movies. Since this time, the whole world has been familiar with characters like Dracula, Dr. Frankenstein, or Jekyll and Hyde. And there was another horror character. A character that was not cinematic but real. The economic crisis and unemployment created space for extreme solutions and the ideas of Adolf Hitler. Factories started to arm, and the world was on the verge of another war. On the 6th of April 1938, the new stock market palace was officially opened in Prague. However, it was not going to operate for very long. Even though the sign placed by the entrance to the new building said, "To serve and support the economic growth of Czechoslovakia forever," it ran for only 1 year. On the 1st of September 1939, Germany attacked Poland, and almost the whole world spent the following 6 years in war. When the war was finally over in 1945, it seemed that the stock market palace would do what it was meant to, but this unfortunately did not happen. In February 1948, a man who then became a president shouted at the Old Town Square that everybody was going to be well and happy. Well, on the 30th of June 1948, the stock market property was liquidated and the stock market palace was expropriated. I must admit that at that time I was almost 100% sure that it was the end for me. Even though it was 3 years after the real war, there was something called Cold War going on. It was an appropriate name because really, for more than 40 years, everything was frozen. I remember that once in the spring of 1968 there was sunshine for a moment, but it didn't last long. At that time, the word help meant exactly the opposite of what it used to mean before. Luckily, nothing lasts forever, and in 1989, the ice started moving. A few years after that, on the 6th of April 1993, after the seemingly never-ending break, I started to do what I was meant to. I quickly adopted the principles of successful operating. The fact that my colleague from Vienna contacted me might prove that I'm quite good at what I do. Aware of the fact that together we can achieve more, we founded the CSAC Group on the 14th of January 2010, together with the stock markets in Vienna, Budapest and Ljubljana. As you can see, I've been through a lot. Thanks to that, I've also learned a lot. I know the best things are still to come, and I'm really looking forward to it all.